In spring of 2022, I installed one of these into my Super Game Boy. What is this, you might be asking? This is a clock mod fix for the Super Game Boy. See, the Super Game Boy is wonderful in that it allows you to conveniently play Game Boy games on your television through your Super Nintendo. Great, that's actually what's playing behind me right now. The problem with the original Super Game Boy is the fact that it does not run at the correct speed. It actually runs about, I believe it's 2.4% faster on the Super Game Boy than on original hardware. And that, for some people, causes some issues. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions. Thanks for stopping by and checking out what we have going on here today. So while I have modded this, and it works beautifully, what I haven't modded yet is this right here. This is my Japanese Super Famicom Super Game Boy, and with this it allows me, again, to play Super Game Boy through my Super Famicom. But the original Super Famicom Super Game Boy still has that clock issue. Now they did release a version 2, and that's got kind of a transparent blue shell to it. It also adds, in addition to the clock fix, it actually has the cable port on the side where you can use the link cable to play between multiple players. For me, I don't care about that. I'm the only one in my household right now that plays games. My oldest, from time to time, when she's not at college, she and I will play games together. The youngest, not quite old enough yet. So what this allows me to do for under $20 is take this and get the correct clock speed simply and easily. And for me, like I mentioned, I don't care about having the link cable option on here. So what we're gonna do in this episode, we're gonna actually perform this mod and test it out, show you how it looks and everything. Now, one thing I do have to say, actually two things I have to say. One of the tools I'm gonna be using is this awesome 3D printed clamp here, and I printed this myself. I have to thank Chuck over at Filament Friday. I've learned so much about 3D printing from Chuck. Make sure you check out his channel. Even if you're not into 3D printing, to see the cool stuff that he does, pretty neat. Like I say, this clamp here, everything including the knob, the gears, it's all 3D printed. And this will allow me to go ahead and hold the PCB in here more securely while I solder. So that is that. And then we do also have an all new digital microscope that actually records properly to the SD card. Amazing how that happens. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna do that mod. Right, so we are geared up and ready to go. We have our soldering iron heating up here. And we do need a few tools to go ahead and do this. Now, one thing I didn't notice, I am actually missing one of the security screws in this. I'll grab that out of another game. You will need to go ahead and use a security bit, also called a game bit. This is a 3.8 millimeter screw, and there's 4 of them in here. You will also need a Phillips blade screwdriver, and we'll show you why here in just a moment. Other tools that are handy, an X-Acto knife, the clamp like I showed you, and then no clean solder flux, solder itself, and a tweezers or a hemostat may be handy as well. So with those screws out, we're going to just open up the case here. And like I mentioned, you will need a Phillips screwdriver to remove those 2 screws. And I happen to have that right here. And actually, all the work we're going to do is on the back side of this. There. Looking at the pins don't look too terrible. I will go ahead and clean it up before we go ahead and put it in our system with a 1-up cleaning card and some 99% isopropyl alcohol. And stuff like this is why the tweezers or hemostats can come in handy. So everything, like I mentioned, we're going to do is going to be on the back side of the board here. And now at this point, I'm actually going to pull the microscope up just so we can take a look at the pins and so I can have a better look overall at what I am soldering. One thing I do have to mention too, thanks to Voltar, as he is the one that I first saw do this, and just a beautiful overall tutorial on his channel as well. I will have that linked for you down below. And the first thing we need to do is we actually need to remove several components, and those are the R1, R7, and C15. So R1, looking at the board underneath the microscope, would be that guy right there. So there's R1. R7 is down here. So right there is R7. And C15 is right next to it. So that guy, and that guy. So to do this, first and foremost, we are going to clean off our soldering iron tip, and then we are going to apply some no clean solder flux. There we go with that. And this is just a straight up removal of components here. And you should be able to heat that one up right there. Well, we got it off and then it reapplied itself. Come on, you. And this again is where a tweezers or hemostat can come in handy. There we go. Now, I am a little concerned with that blob there. Is that solder, or what is that? Yeah, it looks like a blob of solder on there. Yep. Here we go. Blob of something. Don't know what that was. Now, I'm also going to come in here too and just hit the pads just to clean off any excess there on that one. Again, we're going to come in here to the bottom two, the R7 and the C15. All right, so there we go with those. Put a little bit of no clean on both. And for those curious, I do have my soldering iron set to 320 degrees. And I should be able to pull that one right off, and that one came right off. And we got that one right off. Awesome, so the component removal is done. We are just going to come up here and clean up the pads. Now at this point we're ready to get our new board out. And all that we're dealing with is a very teeny tiny board, this guy right here. So you'll have, we'll make contact here, those 2 points there, and then that point there. Those are basically the only points that we're going to be soldering on the board. Now, unfortunately, I think my clamp is a little bit too small for this, so we're not going to use it. We're going to have that piece there, we'll solder onto there. We're going to solder those 2 joints there to one of the components, to those 2 pads there we had removed one of the components. And then right there we will also tack everything down. And this is where, again, having an X-Acto knife handy, don't stab yourself like I just did. Having an X-Acto knife handy will definitely make your job easier. So we're going to come in, we're just going to use the knife to kind of draw it down and align our components. That's all that we're doing with the knife. We're just using it as essentially a more defined or a better defined digit to adjust our placement a little bit. So there you can see we'll basically go from that solder joint to that pad right there. And we'll apply some no clean solder flux. And even though it's called no clean solder flux, I will still be cleaning up after this. Tin my iron. And now we're just going to tack it down right there, hopefully. There we go. Now I will come back and I will touch that joint up in a moment after I get the others tacked down and everything. Now what I found the first time that I did it is I actually have to use a healthy amount of solder on that pad. I'm also just going to take my X-Acto knife and just scuff it up ever so slightly to assist in adhesion. if you have, oh, and that did not stick on that pad, good to know. And all that we're trying to do is assist in the adhesion. Once again, we want to make sure that we're aligned with everything. Patience is a virtue on this stuff. Okay, we're over everything there. The joint should look shiny when done. There, now it's not moving. That's better. Now that I've wetted that joint with no clean solder flux, we're going to come in here and apply some solder to that part right there. There we go. We're going to clean that up just a hair. Good contact there. And hitting each of these 2 points there. The main thing we want to do too is make sure we don't have any bridging, and I've got a bridge right there, so we're just going to come back in and clean that up a little bit. There we go. Nice clean joints there. Nice clean joint there. And now that those are all done, I am going to come back and get this one on the very end again, and just to make sure that we've got a good contact and a good joint here. All right, so now at this point, we've actually removed our soldering iron, and we're ready to clean up our board here. What I'm going to do, and this is just isopropyl alcohol, I'm just going to get some on the board where I was just soldering. And you can use an old toothbrush for this. I have a firm bristled paintbrush that I use that was never used for painting. All I'm doing is I'm cleaning off the excess that was here. And again, you can see the quality of the joints and everything. Now, one thing that you can do at this point, and I highly recommend if you haven't done this before, put this in your Super Famicom. You can do it just like this. You don't have to put it back in the case, just to make sure everything is working properly. So final test, or not test, but step here is we are just going to take a 1-up cleaning card. Those pins don't look terrible, but I do happen to have a 1-up cleaning card here. And we're going to put some fluid on the fluid side. And we are going to clean the card. These are basically the definitive go-to way that I clean all of my games. Consider this a personal endorsement. I love these. They work great. You can even have your own custom ones made for you if you so want. Now, the one thing I would say that I was very deliberate about doing right there too is make sure that you don't touch the pins once you've cleaned them, because then you'll, well, have to clean them again just to get the oils and crud off from your fingers, or that you may have transferred from your fingers onto the board. Those pins look pretty good. We're going to just adjust the focus a little bit here. There we go. Those look really, really good. Flip over this side here. So very happy with this. All right, team, we are almost done. I hope you are feeling confident about this. I am. And this will go face down into the back. Now, you see the way that I'm touching the cart here. There's probably a little bit of my finger getting on the pins down below, but not enough that it should affect it. So up next, we have to put our Phillips head screws back in. And if you follow me for any amount of time doing any kind of mods, number one tip, when you thread something back into plastic, unscrew it slightly before screwing it back in. That'll make sure that you are going into your original threaded holes versus cutting new threads. And while this is a power screwdriver, I will be doing this manually just to make sure that I'm not stripping out the threads or anything. And again, just a slight turn it out, turn it back in. There's that. We're now done with that guy. Put the two halves back together. And now again, on this one, I only have 3 screws. I didn't notice that it was missing one. I don't have a screw loose, I have a screw missing. So I'm gonna actually do 2 on the bottom, 1 up top. Where before this was the one that was missing. I have spare security screws somewhere, I know. I can always steal it out of a broken cartridge too. Get that one tightened down. And I said that I was going to go ahead and put it down here, and what I do, I left that one open again, didn't I? Now we can throw that one down in there. There we go. And just like that, you know, fairly simple mod for anyone who has any soldering experience. We're going to go ahead and we have our Super Famicom Junior hooked up through our RetroTink 5X. I am excited to see what this looks like on the big screen. Let's go check it out. So now it is time for the moment of truth, not to be confused with the Ring of Fire. Hoo-ha-ha. Sorry, bad Finding Nemo joke. Now, I do have my Super Game Boy for my Super Nintendo unplugged, so that way you know that I am using the Super Famicom Super Game Boy. And I do also have Kirby's Pinball, I think it is here. This is actually the Japanese cartridge here. We're going to put it into the system and go ahead and turn it on. Very good sign. It's loading. Bingo bango. There, actually, this is just, no, this is Kirby's Pinball, isn't it? I believe this is Kirby's Pinball. Works terrifically. That's awesome. I am glad to see that. Now, one thing that many people may not be aware of is the Super Game Boy, both the US and the Japanese one, they're region free. So while this is a Japanese game playing here right now, we're going to go ahead and throw in our US version of Link's Awakening so you can see that that plays here as well. Now for this, I am going through my RetroTink 5X using Insurrection Industries SCART cables, which is why it just looks beautiful here. Now one thing you may notice, a little bit of a flicker towards the top of the screen. That's owing to the fact that I don't have the filter fully applied, so that we're getting some garbage code basically up there that normally you wouldn't see on display. But here you can see Link's Awakening works like a champ too. Now, a couple things, like I mentioned in the video, this a little bit too small to hold the cartridge PCB in it. I actually wasn't expecting that. Probably gonna work okay if I'm working on Game Boy games or Game Boys or Super Game Boys or Game Boy Advance SPs. Stay tuned for that. But this, again, check out Chuck from Filament Fridays. Chap, great stuff. Absolutely love everything that he does over there. And it's one of those, I'm not just a subscriber, I'm actually a Patreon supporter of him too, because he does so much cool stuff and gives so much back to the 3D printing community. And gotta say too, our new digital video microscope, this thing worked like a champ. I was actually really happy with my overall results. Now, Must Tool, you guys suck. Your device sucks. It doesn't record like this one does. And the sad thing is, this is pretty much the same model as that one, and this does what it's supposed to do. So overall, very, very happy. Do have to thank again Qwertymodo. He is the one behind this amazing mod. Now, he didn't provide this for me. I paid for it on my own because I actually believe in it. And for 15 bucks plus shipping and handling, can't go wrong on here. And again, super thanks to Voltar for showing me how to do this in the first place. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. Now, this is not anything that I will be providing for others. I believe he does. So if you want to have this mod done, go ahead, reach out to Voltar, and he will be able to get you helped out. Now, if you are looking for any other videos on mods that we've done, installation, tutorial, tips and tricks, our original clock mod video for the Super Game Boy for the US Super Nintendo, those videos are coming up for you right now. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you want to help support Rock Solid Productions and be a part of our community, there's a number of different ways you can do so. First and foremost, join us over on our Patreon page or become a channel member here on YouTube. By joining through either one of those methods, you get early access to just about all of our video content, exclusive content, and a whole lot more. We also give you shout outs at the end of each and every one of our videos. You can also pick up some awesome Rock Solid Productions swag. We've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and more available through our Teespring store on screen right now too. You can also pick up some of our awesome 3D printed cartridge stands, amiibo holders, Nintendo DS holders, and more by visiting our 3D printer store on screen right now as well. Links for everything will be down below in a pinned comment. If you want to stay up to date with everything we have going on here at Rock Solid Productions, make sure that you're following us on the different social media networks. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/RockSolidProductions, Instagram at instagram.com/RockSolidProductionsGK, and Twitter at Rock Solid Studios. If you're looking to pick this and other retro and modern gaming accessories up, make sure that you head on over to CastlemaniaGames.com. He has a feature over there called Castle Cash, where the more you spend, the more you earn towards future purchases, and Castle Cash is just like cash. He also offers convenient payment plans for more expensive items over $50. Finally, make sure that you use promo code ROCKSOLID10 when you're shopping at CastlemaniaGames.com, as it can save you up to 10% on most items on the website. Again, thank you for watching this episode, and I cannot wait to see you again soon.